Be all right, won't it? And we'll be all right.
I'll see to it.
We're headed into an unknown future, and
I know what you mean. What are we to do in France? It won't be forever, Claire. Someday we'll return to Scotland. That, I promise you.
They told us it was a love story. They never told us it was a countdown. 12 years, 8 seasons, hundreds of episodes, thousands of tears. And now, Outlander is doing something quietly devastating. It is not ending with a bang. It is not ending with a war cry or a dramatic declaration. It is ending with 4 words. A bit of time. That is the title of Season 8, Episode 8. 4 words that should sound simple. 4 words that should sound gentle. And yet, if you have been watching this show for any stretch of your life, if Jamie and Claire Fraser have lived in your chest the way they live in mine, those 4 words hit like a blade you did not see coming. Think about that title for a moment. Really sit with it. In a show that has spent 12 years bending time, weaponizing time, romanticizing time, and destroying people with time, the show is now telling you that time is almost gone. Not paused, not stretched, not magically reversed through ancient standing stones on a Scottish hillside. Gone. Running out, down to just a bit. And that bit, that tiny, precious, borrowed sliver of time, that is what Episode 8 is about. That is what this breakdown is about. And by the time you finish watching this, you are going to feel every second of it. We are 3 episodes away from saying goodbye to Jamie and Claire Fraser forever. 3 episodes. The Battle of Kings Mountain is not a rumor anymore. It is not a vague shadow hanging at the edge of the story. It is here. It is arriving. And hanging directly over it is a prophecy that has been slowly, methodically, mercilessly dismantling every hope this family has tried to hold on to. Brianna came back from the future carrying a book. Frank Randall's book, The Historian, The First Husband. And inside those pages was a revelation so brutal, it reframed every single scene that came after it. Jamie Fraser is supposed to die at Kings Mountain. Let that land. Jamie Fraser, the man who survived Culloden, the man who survived Wentworth Prison, the man who was flogged, imprisoned, betrayed, and broken, and kept getting back up every single time. That man is walking toward a battle that history has already recorded, that a prophecy has already sealed, that his own daughter confirmed with a book she carried through time. And he knows it. He is not running from it. He is walking straight toward it with his eyes open and his jaw set and everything he loves at his back. Claire knows it too. And this is where Season 8 has done something genuinely extraordinary, something that separates it from every other season that came before. Because the cruelest thing you can do to Claire Fraser is not put her on a battlefield. It is not take her instruments or her medicines or her supplies. The cruelest thing you can do to Claire Fraser is take away her ability to fix something. She is a healer. She has been a healer since before she even knew what she was walking into when she touched those stones at Craignadoon. She dragged people back from the edge of death with her bare hands. She fought death professionally, personally, and spiritually for over a decade of her life. And now she is being told she cannot save her own husband. The prophecy is not a wound she can stitch. It is not an infection she can fight. It is destiny. And Claire Fraser does not believe in destiny, except that 12 years of her life have proven, repeatedly and painfully, that it is absolutely real. So here we are, 3 episodes from the end, Jamie walking toward a battle he believes will kill him, Claire refusing to accept a fate she cannot change, a family scattered across a ridge that is no longer safe, and the show pausing just for 1 episode to give everyone, the characters and us, a bit of time before the storm swallows everything whole. Now here is what nobody is talking about. That title was not always the title. The early working title for this episode was something entirely different, something that pointed directly at where the action was going to happen. And when you learn what they changed it from and what they deliberately chose instead, you start to understand exactly how intentional this goodbye is going to be. Here is Section 2. Section 2, the road Jamie Fraser built toward his own death. Here is something the casual viewer might have missed. Jamie Fraser did not stumble toward Kings Mountain. He did not get dragged there by circumstance or bad luck or the chaos of a revolution that showed up uninvited at his doorstep. Jamie Fraser built the road to his own death, brick by brick, choice by choice, all season long. And every single choice he made was the right one. That is what makes it unbearable. Go back to episode 5. Jamie aligned himself with Benjamin Cleveland. Not because he liked the man, not because Cleveland inspired him or earned his respect. Jamie allied himself with a man he cannot stand because that alliance was the only thing that stood between Fraser's Ridge and total destruction. Cleveland is brutal. Cleveland is bloodthirsty. Cleveland is exactly the kind of man Jamie Fraser has spent his entire life refusing to become. And Jamie shook his hand anyway, because the Ridge comes first, because Claire comes first, because the family he has bled for and built and protected across 2 continents and 2 centuries comes first. And Diana Gabaldon herself confirmed it. That deal with Cleveland is exactly what puts Jamie on the road to King's Mountain. The author of these characters, the woman who created Jamie Fraser from the ground up, looked at that storyline and said yes, that is how he gets there. Not fate dragging him, Jamie walking himself in. And then there is Captain Cunningham. If you thought Cunningham was just a side antagonist, a loyalist complication dropped into the Ridge storyline to create friction and then disappear, think again. Cunningham fought like a man who genuinely believed he could not die. Not arrogance, belief. His deceased son had allegedly told him they would not see each other again for 7 more years. So Cunningham went into that confrontation with Jamie convinced he was protected by something beyond the physical world. He nearly killed Jamie. Nearly. Because Buck Mackenzie arrived just in time and put a bullet in Cunningham that Claire later confirmed may have left him permanently unable to walk. A crippled Cunningham. Still on the Ridge, still breathing, still holding loyalist convictions in the heart of a community that is fracturing along every possible line of loyalty and fear and survival. Here is the thing about a wounded animal that everyone in this show already knows and that we as the audience need to sit with going into episode 8. A wounded animal is not a defeated animal. A wounded animal is the most dangerous kind. Cunningham, paralyzed and bitter and stripped of his physical power, is potentially more destructive to the peace of Fraser's Ridge than Cunningham armed and fighting was. Because now the war he carries is not in his hands. It is in his mouth, in his presence, in every conversation he has with people who are already uncertain about where their loyalties should fall when the revolution finally forces them to choose a side they cannot take back. So going into episode 8, the Ridge is not safe. It has not been safe for a while, but the particular texture of the danger has shifted. It is no longer just external. It is internal now. Loyalties tested between neighbors, between people who have broken bread together and built fences together and buried their dead together. The community Jamie and Claire built with their hands and their sacrifice and their absolute refusal to give up on each other, or anyone who chose to stand with them, is now a community being pulled in multiple directions by a war that does not care about the home they made. And Jamie knows all of this. He knows the Ridge is fracturing. He knows Cunningham is still there. He knows Cleveland is waiting. He knows King's Mountain is coming. And he is still making decisions, still leading, still showing up every single morning as the man his people need him to be, even while carrying the knowledge that he might not see the other side of what is coming. That is not heroism as a performance. That is heroism as a habit. That is a man so deeply built from the inside out that even facing his own prophesied death, he cannot stop being exactly who he has always been. Now, let us talk about Buck Mackenzie, because Buck might be the most quietly important character in this final stretch of the season, and the audience is not giving him nearly enough credit. Jamie told Buck the truth about King's Mountain, about the prophecy, about what Frank Randall's book said. And Jamie did not tell Buck because he needed someone to talk him out of it. He told Buck because Buck is a time traveler. Buck has lived between eras. Buck understands in a way that almost no one else on that ridge possibly could what it means to have foreknowledge of disaster and to have to decide what you do with it. And Buck's response was not to run. It was not to argue. It was not to try to rewrite what was coming. Buck agreed to stand with Jamie at King's Mountain, two men who have both cheated time, choosing to face the end of it together. Think about what that image actually means. Two time travelers. One walking toward a death that has been written. One choosing to walk beside him anyway. If that is not the most Outlander thing that has ever happened in 8 seasons of this show, I genuinely do not know what is. But here is what I cannot stop thinking about. Buck knows, Jamie knows, Claire knows. And the one person who started all of this, the one person whose decision to bring that book back through the stones set every single one of these events in motion, is Brianna. And Brianna has to live with that. Every single day between the moment she handed over that knowledge and whatever happens at King's Mountain, Brianna Fraser has been carrying the weight of being the person who told her father he was going to die. So where is she in episode 8? What does that guilt look like when the battle is no longer theoretical, when it is days away instead of months? Because if you think Brianna's arc this season has been about anything other than that question, you have not been paying close enough attention. And neither, it turns out, has William. And what William is about to discover changes everything. There is a specific kind of suffering that Outlander has always understood better than almost any other show on television. It is not the suffering of the person in danger. It is the suffering of the person who loves them and cannot do anything but watch. And episode 8 is about to put every single character in that position simultaneously. Not just Claire, not just Brianna. Every single person who has built their life around Jamie Fraser is about to stand at the edge of something they cannot pull him back from, and the show is going to make you feel every one of them. Let us start with Brianna, because Brianna Fraser has been carrying something this entire season that the narrative has not fully exploded yet, and episode 8 feels like the episode where that explosion finally comes. She brought the book. She made the decision, she crossed back through the stones armed with the knowledge of her father's prophesied death, and she handed that knowledge over because she believed, she had to believe, that knowing was better than not knowing, that her parents deserved the truth even when the truth was devastating. And in theory, she was right. In theory, that is exactly the kind of fierce, loving, impossible decision that a daughter of Jamie and Claire Fraser would make. But theory and reality are very different things when the battle is 3 days away, and your father is sharpening his sword, and your mother's face looks like something inside her is already beginning to break. The guilt Brianna is carrying is not simple guilt. It is layered. It is complicated, because she did not create the prophecy. She did not write the book. She did not choose King's Mountain or the Revolutionary War or any of the historical machinery grinding toward this moment. But she chose to bring the knowledge of it into the present. And now she has to watch what that knowledge is doing to the two people she loves most in the world. Roger sees it. Roger has always seen Brianna more clearly than almost anyone else does. And the reckoning between these two in episode 8, the conversation about responsibility and love, and whether knowing the future is a gift or a curse, feels like it has been building since the moment that book first appeared on screen. Do not mistake their quieter presence in the back half of this season for a smaller role. Brianna and Roger are the emotional conscience of this final stretch. And consciences have a way of making themselves heard at exactly the worst possible moment. And then there is William. William Ransom, who does not yet fully understand what he is standing in the middle of. William has been pulling at the thread of his cousin Benjamin Gray's death from a careful distance, drawn into questions of loyalty and identity and what it actually means to choose a side in a war that is reshaping an entire continent. His loyalist roots are not just political background, they are personal. They are the foundation of the identity he was raised inside. And the war closing in on Fraser's Ridge is not just asking William which army he supports, it is asking him who he actually is when everything he was taught to believe is tested against everything he has come to feel. That confrontation with himself first and then possibly with Jamie is not a small storyline tucked into the margins of a bigger episode. It is a fuse. And episode 8 might be the episode where someone finally lights it. And then there is William. William Ransom, who does not yet fully understand what he is standing in the middle of. William has been pulling at the thread of his cousin Benjamin Gray's death from a careful distance, drawn into questions of loyalty and identity, and what it actually means to choose a side in a war that is reshaping an entire continent. His loyalist roots are not just political background. They are personal. They are the foundation of the identity he was raised inside. And the war closing in on Fraser's Ridge is not just asking William which army he supports. It is asking him who he actually is when everything he was taught to believe is tested against everything he has come to feel. That confrontation with himself first and then possibly with Jamie is not a small storyline tucked into the margins of a bigger episode. It is a fuse. And episode 8 might be the episode where someone finally lights it. Young Ian. Do not sleep on young Ian. If you have been treating his arc as secondary this season, episode 8 is going to correct that assumption in ways you are not prepared for. Young Ian has been the emotional bridge between generations all season long. He is old enough to have lived through the weight of what the Fraser name costs, young enough to still believe the next generation might carry it differently. He has watched his uncle navigate an impossible situation with impossible grace, and he has done it from close enough to see the cracks that Jamie does not let anyone else see. Young Ian knows things about Jamie's state of mind that even Claire might not fully know. And in the final 3 episodes, his role as the connective tissue between the old guard and the new generation of Frasers is going to matter in ways the show has been quietly setting up all season without making a single announcement about it. Now, let us talk about what is actually happening on that ridge in episode 8, because this episode was not originally called A Bit of Time. The early working title pointed directly at a forest, and that change from a location to a concept is one of the most telling creative decisions of the entire final season. The forest in Outlander has never been just scenery. The untamed spaces between civilization and war in this show have always been where the real confrontations happen. Not the confrontations with armies or enemies, the confrontations with the self. The moments where a character walks into the trees and comes out the other side irrevocably changed. Jamie moving through the forest in the trailer footage is not aimless movement. It is not a man running or hiding or retreating. It is a man walking towards something with full knowledge of what it is. And there is a particular devastation in watching a person move deliberately and calmly towards something that terrifies everyone who loves them. Claire's expression in that trailer footage is the entire season compressed into a single close-up. This is not the face of a woman afraid of battle. Claire has been on battlefields. She survived Culloden. She has stitched wounds by firelight in the middle of a war that was actively trying to kill everyone around her. She is not afraid of blood or chaos or danger in the way that most people are afraid of those things. What Claire Fraser is afraid of is the specific and particular helplessness of watching the man she crossed centuries for walk into something she cannot fix. She is a surgeon. She is a healer. She has made it her entire life's work to stand between the people she loves and death and refuse to move. And the prophecy is not something she can stand between Jamie and. It is not a wound. It is not a fever. It is not an enemy she can outthink or outlast or outfight. It is written. It is done. And Claire Fraser is being asked, for the first time in 12 years of surviving the unsurvivable, to accept something she has no power over. That expression on her face is a woman deciding whether she is going to keep fighting the inevitable or finally, just for a moment, let herself feel the full weight of what is coming. And knowing Claire, she will never fully stop fighting, but she is going to get very close to it in episode 8. Close enough that the scene where it happens is going to be one of the most powerful moments in the entire run of this series. And that quiet, intimate moment between Jamie and Claire that the trailer gives us just a glimpse of. No armies, no battles, no prophecy pressing down on the frame, just the two of them. That moment is not a relief. That moment is the most heartbreaking thing in the entire trailer. Because you know what comes after it. And so do they. But here is what nobody has asked yet. If Jamie has made peace with what is coming, and Claire is close to cracking, and everyone around them is bracing for King's Mountain, what happens if the prophecy is wrong? What happens if Frank Randall's book, carried through time by a grieving daughter who trusted its every word, got something wrong? Because books written by historians have been wrong before. And this particular historian had every reason in the world to write a version of Jamie Fraser's story that served his own complicated feelings about the man his wife never stopped loving. What if the prophecy was never a guarantee? What if it was always just a very educated, very motivated, very human guess?